I walk in and I hear all these people doing these Broadway tunes. And I walk in with my boombox and I sang The Wind Beneath My Wings. And then I sang Lean on Me by Club Nouveau. And your listeners will probably recognize that too. But it's an upbeat kind of thing. And I left and thinking, this director is going to be laughing her fanny off about me doing this. Like, just what the heck? Who is this guy?
Welcome back to the Spark Connect. Fail to plan, plan to fail. You can't rock and roll until you know the notes, and singing is storytelling. Those are just a few of the gems in today's conversation with Stephen Patterson. We're talking about voice, trust, silence, collaboration, and what learning professionals can steal from singers. This episode is equal parts insightful and energizing. So grab your metaphorical mic and let's jump in. Hi, Stephen. Welcome. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. I've been waiting for this day, and I just can't wait for our listeners to meet you and all the cool stuff that I picked up from you the very moment that I saw you in the audience. So without further ado, please introduce yourself.
My name is Stephen Patterson, and I'm in Kansas City, Missouri. I work in learning and development. I've been in learning and development my entire adult career. And it's funny, went to school for an HR degree because I couldn't decide what I needed to do as a vocal performer. And it's all leaning to people. So that's probably the degree I should get. I've never formally worked in HR. However, I've been delivering learning, high facilitation my entire career. And so my art form, singing outside of work, has absolutely contributed to what I do and how I do it within the walls of the organization that I work for, and even the stuff that I do outside of here. So
Oh, wow.
give you enough of an intro?
Oh, it's lovely. And we got another singer in the podcast house. Let's call
Yeah.
it that. Oh, I just love that so much. We'll see by the end of it or in any moment throughout our time together today if we get any songs that come through.
Wow.
We shall see. I will not make you do that.
You never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
I know that I delivered a keynote a couple of weeks ago, and I am not a vocal performer. I only dream of such things and wish, and definitely am like that in the car in the shower. But I decided to go out on a limb and see if I could get the audience to just sing a very well-known song with me.
Mm-hmm.
And what ended up happening, I was like, I set the line up. I didn't do it when you saw me, Stephen, but I set the line up where I was like, because everybody wants to go where everybody knows your name. And I was hoping that everybody would sing with me, and no one did. They just stared at me. 300 people in the audience.
So perhaps they just needed that really clear direction, and maybe you gave that, like, join me. I need you to join me. I'm going to give you a trailer, like this coming in spot. I've had that happen before where they just looked at me very blankly, and I'm like, I think I thought it was obvious. Like, jump on in.
It was so obvious. I mean, granted, what's obvious to me, I can be walking down the street and see something and I'll turn it into a song. Either a song that I know or a song that I make up. I sing to my cats every single day, So anyway, I think it's so cool. So are you formally trained as a vocal performer? And if so, or if not, when did that happen? Have you been singing since you were born? And what's your path to that? We're so interested.
I'm not formally trained. The school that I chose to go to had a very, very good vocal performance program. However, I just didn't do it. I'm like, I think I want to eat the rest of my life, or just not that people who are in vocal do not. Obviously, they do quite well. It was just my 18-year-old brain at that point. And it was even some years after that I started at that school and went down the HR path thinking, okay, I'm all about people, so that'll work. And then I continued to do vocal work outside of my day gig, if you want to call it that, my job. And that all started for me way back. I mean, I've been singing forever. I just have. And my earliest competition kind of performance was when I was 5 at a state fair. And I was scared to death. And then fast forward, and I kept doing things after that. And I will never forget having a performance where I actually peed my pants while I was singing. Yeah. Well, I was little. I was not like a teenager or anything.
Of course.
But thank God I had, now this is a long time ago, but I had dark black or navy blue bell bottoms, and they were bedazzled. My mom did the whole thing on them, so the bells had stars on them, gold stars and stuff on the bottom of the pants. And I'm doing this song, and I'm also singing over or with a record. This is a long time ago because there weren't background tracks and stuff like that. And I will never forget it. The song's called Burning Bridges. So your viewers can Google that. I haven't listened to it for a long time. Sitting at my house on the giant console stereo we had, and loved it. And so anyway, I did that, and it was from there that even beyond that moment, once I really hit high school, let's fast forward to that, I started singing even more. And I started doing more things outside of school. And I was obviously going to school competitions and that kind of thing, state competition, whatever. But I started doing a lot of weddings, and I was in a very small town that I grew up in. So weddings, funerals, my high school girlfriend also sang. So we did those things together, and it was a lot of fun. Once I hit more adulthood, I would say after high school, then I started stretching myself and doing more and more vocal things. I was in the band for a while. Now, even now, like I'm prepping for a performance that I'm giving next weekend for a friend's mom, very dear friend, family friend, her celebration of life. And
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to that. So it'll be much easier because it's joyful, even though, and it's been a while since she passed away. I have a benefit concert that I do that's coming up in December that helps kids in my hometown. So it's that kind of stuff that I do it's our 11th year. So what adulthood did was stretch me to kind of like learning and development. It's facilitation for a larger group. It's managing time. It's making sure that you're giving away the emotional pieces of a story that maybe you didn't write. And
Yeah.
when every time I sing someone else's song, it's just that. I have to evoke and give away what I'm hoping they will feel, to do honor to the lyric that someone wrote that now has us all being attached to it or having it resonate with us. So that's a weird kind of bit of my trajectory with this, but along the way, I had coaches, and from my high school teachers to really doing a show for 8 years in Kansas City, a performance group at a shopping center. We don't call it a mall because they were like, we're not a mall, we're a shopping center. And it was an upscale area, whatever. It was great. And then, working with our director who was running and the house mistress for really important theaters in Kansas City, the Kansas City Repertory Theater, Starlight Theater here, that are just fantastic. I was so lucky. Here's a quick story. If we have time for it, I'll share this with you really briefly. There was an ad in the newspaper. This is back when we got newspapers, and they were auditioning people for this group. And I'm like, and my wife, who to this day will read every line, every word of the paper, saw this, and she's like, "You should do it." I'm like, "No, I don't think so. Like, I haven't really had any formal training. I'm from this small town, blah, blah." I had all these reasons why I shouldn't do it. And she's like, "I think you should go." I did go. And here's what's funny. I show up and I have my boombox. I'm totally dating myself all the way through this episode, which is awesome. But I show up with my boombox and I'm prepared and I'm singing. I walk in and I hear all these people doing these Broadway tunes and these voices, like, oh my God, like fantastic. And I'd never experienced that before. And I walk in with my boombox and I sang "The Wind Beneath My Wings." And then I sang "Lean on Me" by Club Nouveau. And your listeners will probably recognize that too, but it's an upbeat kind of thing. And I left and thinking, this director is going to be laughing her fanny off about me doing this. Like, just what the heck? Who is this guy? Where's he from? Who is this hayseed from this small town? I got a call. And the call
Wow.
was,
Wow.
I have a feeling that once you hit the stage, you're going to just ignite or whatever. She saw that. And fortunately, she was right, and getting her direction and all those things. So that launched me into this 8 years of getting really good coaching and development and guidance from a schooled, trained musical professional. And
Wow.
how lucky, how lucky. So the kudos are to my wife, seriously, for reading the paper and finding that, and it never would have happened. So that led into me expanding my repertoire and expanding, just pushing myself to sing things that were harder, to learn, to try to become a certified cantor. I'm not Catholic, but I love stone churches. I'm like, so selfishly, I'm like, I'm going to try and sing at every Catholic church in Kansas City. and do this. I didn't hit them all for sure, but I did. And then I had to learn Ave Maria in Latin and things like that that I'd never ever done. And it's just been a really, really fun journey. And to be able to do that outside of work. And then I've had opportunities through some of my jobs where they wanted to have a moment of whatever, of taking people into this different headspace and ask me to sing at work, to have a song that would lead into where we were trying to get everyone to go that day
Oh,
emotionally. And so that was an honor. Or to do things, we have veterans that come into the office or what have you. We had a night at the Oscars at one of my jobs, and I was the MC. Because of that time on
fun.
the stage, I got to do those things, and it leads into what we do as learning professionals too.
So much of what you said as I'm listening to this is amazing. And you said something in the beginning I had never thought of before. And I was like, oh my gosh. The part where you were talking about you're taking someone else's lyrics and bringing them to life through your own experiences into for the audience in front of you. I know when you shared information about the performance that you do, the work that you do too. I love this. You said that singing is how I tell stories, evoke emotion, and build connection. And it just resonates so strongly. And I just never put two and two together that maybe a facilitator's guide could be like a song.
Mm,
Like the
or a
content that
playbook.
you have to teach is
Hmm.
like, how could I bring that together from my experience for the people that are in front of me and evoke that emotion and tell that story, which is really what we ask trainers and facilitators to do all the time. If it's not content that they have written themselves, we're like, figure it out, bring it to life. And it just never occurred to me to be like, well, have you ever heard a song that you love that someone else wrote, someone else composed, they don't even know you, and here you are making it your own? It's the same thing.
It's the same
So
thing.
it could be. And
It's
I
the
just
same
love
thing.
that so much.
There are two things that come to mind in this part of the conversation. There's a program that I own here that is mastering the story of our organization. And the components there, certain things have to be included. Everyone here, at least within the sales organization that I support, needs to know that story and be able to tell it very well. So they get certified in doing that. And it's from our humble beginnings to how we became a dominant presence in the industry that we're in, which is healthcare IT. And incorporated in that are their own personal stories. And to humanize that experience, it's not just about the data and those details. So there's that this reminded me of. But the other thing that you'd mentioned is like, and we've already talked about, what if the story's not mine? I had someone at my last job that asked me that. Like, I'm being asked to step in and tell this story when I didn't write it. I didn't, it's not mine. My question was, is the story true? Because it was about the organization and they wanted to make sure they were telling it accurate. I said, is it true? And is it accurate? And they said yes and yes. I said, great. So no one's asking you to falsify anything. So you can immediately let go of that. Talk to me about your own connection to the work that this story came from. Because you do that. I had to get them away from being afraid of telling someone else's story to realize that that story is also theirs through the
Right.
work they do. It's just, it's different because they do the work differently or did a different part of the work or the project or whatever. Once they got there, I'm like, you have the story. It's yours
Yeah.
to tell. You can add sprinklings of theirs and giving them credit for that, but it's still your story attached to theirs now. And then the person, like the clouds part of the angels saying, they're like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel like a wolf in sheep's clothes kind of thing, or that I'm being wrought with artifice. I'm like, no, you have to
I
be
love that so
authentic
much. It's
in
like
your delivery.
in the same way that we have the soundtrack of our lives, like people pick a wedding song or they pick songs for important moments of their lives, and they
Yeah.
themselves did not write them or compose them or even sing them at all. But yet it becomes a part of their life and their story. And I just had never thought of that before. And I'm so thankful for that different perspective today that I think everyone can relate to and be able to use and help people, especially if you happen to be in the role of training other trainers or assisting trainers to do the work that they're doing.
Yeah,
Finding that
definitely.
soundtrack, you know?
Right. What is it? What is that soundtrack? And there is everyone's voice has a melody under it. And I believe that. And this is not my real thinking. I'm stealing from Vin Jing, who does a lot of public speaking training and he has YouTube videos. He's phenomenal. But there is like, what is the undercurrent of your voice, or what's the emotion behind your voice? And all of that, everyone has this melody that kind of comes into the space with them,
Well, that's so
if you
interesting.
will.
On that note, do you think that anyone can sing?
It's a very good question. Truly best friend in the entire world, other than my wife, is also female. I've known her since kindergarten, and she's truly my sister that I never had. I have two older brothers. She would say herself, she cannot sing. She is tone deaf. She knows the word to every song on the planet, and she's so fun to car sing with. I don't, and I believe that there is possibility with training and coaching. I'm not the person to do that training and coaching. I do believe there are people that can get someone from that space of being they can't hear on key, like where that is. But I do think with enough practice and work, not even practice, but with work and coaching, it's a behavior change. It's like
Mm,
giving someone another accent.
right. Like you're
It's
just
a behavior
pronouncing it
change.
wrong. Like are you
Yeah.
you're placing it in your body in a place that's not where it's meant to be. But if you try placing it over there, look what it sounds like, you know?
Yeah. And I believe that most people can do another accent. It's a
Hmm.
behavior change to get that new muscle memory around it, and just trying it and getting coaching and listening to yourself is to me the best thing. It's awkward as all get out. However, that's every session that people come through with me. And sometimes even if it's a coaching, a conversation, like how they're going to have a conversation, we record it. I need them to hear their words. I need to have them hear the tone and the pitch and the emotion or lack of emotion behind their words when they're trying to tell that, because that's also driving a story,
Right.
that someone's going to leave that conversation and tell a story about what just happened.
Right. I know in my virtual facilitator program, I have an assignment where we're practicing presenting. And the topic is how do I present online in a way that people want to lean in and listen and be part of it. And so I'm like, go record yourself. And they're like, what should I record? And honestly, for me, it doesn't matter. But I always give them, I'm like, just do your next introduction. And it's funny how they get real caught up in content, like what they say and did the words come through. And I'm like, listen, let's talk about how you said it and how are you looking and are you leaning in and leaning back, changing pace, changing tone. It's something that you do have to actively pay attention to because people do go for content first
Yeah,
when they're
definitely.
prepping, yeah.
That
But I guess
most
that's
people
normal. I mean, it's totally normal. It's like you think about you hear a song you love, you want to learn the lyrics first, and then I'm going to be able to sing it with you. You know what I mean? That's
totally. And
normal.
people
Yeah.
ask me that, and it's the same thing in learning or doing storytelling here. If I'm charged like this next week, I'm singing a song. Obviously, I didn't write it. And it's
Right.
also for a very emotional setting. I have to learn it the way it's written first. And once that happens, I'm going to add my own nuance to it. And I'm going to really start to incorporate the Stevens into it. I'm not going to stray drastically from that original melody and the things that make the song great, and certainly not the lyric, because the lyric is why I chose it. It aligns with what needs to happen for that memorial service. But
Right.
I have to do that always first. And I tell them the same
Always
thing.
first.
Write your content, get your story down, and then you go back and you add the additional context, the nuance that goes with it to make it the best story slash song ever.
You mean
Because
your
for your
personality
audience,
and your life
all of it.
experiences. Yeah, it's like you need that track to run on first. If I go back to
Absolutely.
when I train virtual facilitators, I give them an example and I say, teach what I have given you. And then the next time we practice, you can do your own stuff. But for now, do what I'm giving you. And it is because it's like you can't rock and roll until you know the notes.
No way. Yes, I agree. I used to do train the trainer sessions, and it was the same thing. It's like, hey, see one, do one. Yeah, there's that, but the person who wrote or developed the content has to be there, and then you're giving them feedback. But my first thing is do it the way it's written in the leader guide. So you're getting all the key elements down that have to be part of this, because they need to leave with these things in their pockets. From there, what are your stories? What have you lived related to that drives those points home and makes it that much of a more of an experience that resonates with them
Yeah.
that much more deeply?
This makes such perfect sense to me. And I think that you as a singer, you just get this too. And I think me as a performer and actor, I just get it. I'm like, give me what you got, I'll learn it, and then we'll do something there. And I just think about all the times in corporate learning when I'm helping people learn what they have to teach. And it's so overwhelming to many. So thinking about it from this perspective is just so darn helpful. It gives them just a place. If anything, it's very safe. And don't worry,
Has
your
to be.
personality will come through, because there's a lot of trainers I'll work with that are like, but that's not me. I wouldn't use those words. I wouldn't say it that way. And I'm like, I understand completely. Let's learn it first, and then we'll move
And
on
then,
to
yes,
the way you will say it and the way you will deliver it in your nuanced way. But start here. And this is how we honor the brand and how we honor the content and we honor, well, let's say the instructional design, because those
totally.
people have as big of hearts as you do. Their words were
Yes.
what expressed that, and now your performance and delivery of that will help bring it to life. But it's such a beautiful thing when it comes together, and it is often such a big struggle for people. So I love this metaphor of music and performance giving us giving us the metaphor, giving us the framework to consider it in a different kind of way that feels just wonderful. Really, to
Yeah.
me, it does, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree, and I've had some of those same conversations and struggles with folks that are new into the learning and development space. So now suddenly they were an instructional designer only, and their role has morphed, or someone left, and there's a gap or a void to fill. And guess what? You have to train it now too. Not only did you develop it and do the research or whatever, but you have to tell the story that you wrote. And they're like, "Whoa, but that's not my space. I'm not comfortable in that space. I never signed up to be a public speaker." And so it's very interesting, and I love working with those people because what I have found, and I have people, a few in even roles throughout the years that have purposefully signed up for my presentation skills workshop because they're scared to death of it. And I'm like, first of all, good on you because you're tackling it, you're coming into it a willing participant because you want to get better at it. I love that. You recognize the growth that you want to have and you're trusting yourself. And that's one of the biggest things that I tell them is like, just trust yourself. You know the work and the effort that you've put into it. Then from there, we see them start. I have seen several folks that have just started to blossom. I also keep in mind with their storytelling piece of it and comfortability, their comfort level, what's happening culturally. I think we have to think about that too. The worst feedback I've ever heard someone get is you just need to be more alive when you're on stage, when you're in front of people. You need to be more vocal in when you're in meetings with people. You need to be more assertive. Well, by themselves, those story words, they do nothing to help me. What does it look and sound like? So that's the starting point where I begin with everyone who is stepping into this space. First of all, how much do you want this? I need to get a gauge for their emotional attachment to it, their passion, because that's going to drive the energy they put into it or that they don't put into it. And I've had those people that are like, I'm terrified. I'm terrified of this, but I have to do it because my role is changing. And my leaders are telling me, you're going to be more client facing, or we're now relying on you to deliver at town halls or whatever. That's your responsibility. And they come in scared. And I'm like, I lean into Stephanie Scotty's work in the book called the Walk on Talk on Water. And she said, if I can make this space a giant conversation, an oversized conversation, I can get all the butterflies flying in formation and I can start to be calmer in that space. That's one of the first things I work with them on. And again, going back to that cultural piece, I need to look at who they are as a human from the inside out. How are they hardwired? Some of us, it's like people automatically assume because I do vocal performance outside of work, oh, get Stephen, he'll do it. He loves to be in front of people. That is not necessarily the case. I don't mind being in front of people when I am prepared and I've gotten ready for that space. I don't like just being thrust into it. Again, if it's something silly and whatever, doesn't mean a whole lot. That's different. I want like anybody else, I wanna be ready for it. The folks that is not their go-to, and I am way on the extroverted spectrum, shocker for everybody listening. But I have people that are not, and so it's like, so we have to do more and put in some more effort with them to help coach them to get to that space. And
Yeah.
I also so the last thing I'll say about this too, Cassie, is that not everyone is a soloist, and that's okay.
That's
Everyone
so
is not the
interesting.
soloist. Some people are
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, give me that microphone, let's go." And where's the X? I'm ready. Show me the spotlight. Other people are like, and I've talked to leaders about this. You need what's in their brain to be transferred to other people in your organization. We want that transfer of knowledge. This person is not the soloist. They've made that abundantly clear, and you're coming to me to help with them because you didn't like the performance that you saw from them as a soloist. That's
Wow.
not solely on them. Let's change it. I put that same person on a panel. This I don't want to be the soloist, but I would love to be in an ensemble
Yep.
any day of
Yep.
the week. I was in choir in high school, but I never had the lead. I didn't want that.
Yeah.
I was not, and so we change it. We can make it into a panel, and they're seated and they're not in front of the mic standing there. We get all the good stuff out of their heads. So I
Oh.
always say it's important to remember that for me as a soloist, and I've done group work as well, I have to remember that not everyone is a soloist and they're comfortable with that space. But I love ensemble work too. And if I can get someone in that space, rather than staying silent and we never transfer the knowledge that's in their brain to somebody else, let's change the method or the model,
Wow, it's
whatever.
just what another beautiful way to connect it to music because I'm thinking through right now. Sometimes I love listening to a solo singer, and
Yeah.
other times I can't get enough of the like the Everly Brothers and the harmonies. When you hear those groups,
Yes.
they all come together.
Yep.
Those things are just as beautiful and they provide different experiences. And I couldn't say that I like one over the other.
My wife will say, I love your voice and I love hearing you sing. Who's going to be singing with you? She's like, do you have some harmony coming in?
Yeah.
And I'm with her. When you add another layer or another layer and another layer and another layer, it can be absolute magic. And I always say we shine brighter together. And when we have those moments, and in a vocal performance or even on the stage, oftentimes with a co-presenter, as long as we have the chemistry and we've done the work together to be ready for that space, man, that's a beautiful piece of music that we're giving away. And it can be really technical learning, but we're connected. And if our clients are present in that room, they signed up for a really good piece of orchestration. And they need to know that the project team is connected and has synergy to be able to deliver that. When the conflict happens along the way, and it does, and I always look at every great piece of music has conflict. It always does.
Yeah.
We think
That's
of
the
this.
emotional contrast that gets
Totally.
woven through,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Or the dissonance that comes in. That for me represents conflict in or discourse in human interactions at work. So there's music through all of it. And we could even say there's choreography in it, there's orchestration in it. How do we do that?
You walk through your day thinking of these things all the time. It's just a natural default place for you. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It
Yeah,
seems
I
like it.
guess it is because a lot of my work is centered around helping people be better versions of themselves. And I think anybody in learning and development, that's one of our charges.
Yeah.
And I'm super passionate about it. And especially in the leadership space, because I feel like the higher we climb as leaders, then I always say, people who know me will know what's coming, is that if I'm climbing up the ladder, I should be reaching back to pull the next people with me and growing them and giving away what I know to be great, that's worked, all my best things to them while we're climbing together. I should not be kicking them off the ladder so I can get to the next spot. And so that's just the way I roll in what I do and the way I believe about it. So I've spent the time working with leaders and I've learned a lot from the ones that do things really, really well that I want to make sure that I'm emulating. I learned equal or maybe even more from the ones I'm like, really? That's the card you played? That's what you saw as the first most appropriate step to take? And I don't forget those things because I don't want to give them away. And I also hold the leaders that I work with to that higher level of accountability. And, because I go back to what we talked about earlier, everything we're doing every day is trying to get the best out of everyone here. It's kind of rare that we're putting all of our energy and efforts into the soloist. That's, at least it should be more rare. And I understand there are high flyers, rock stars, what I'm going to call them, in every organization on every team. They need love and they need nurturing and coaching and development also, no matter how great they are. We typically don't put all of our eggs in that basket, and we shouldn't, because even the rock star, the high flyer in an organization, top salespeople, still have people on the periphery that help them
Yeah.
do what they do. That becomes the orchestra
That's right.
or the drum line or the dance team or whatever. We
Yes.
do have to do it together.
It's so beautiful. Is there anything in your vocal performance practice that you could teach our listeners that would help them the next time they're about to prepare a speech or a training? When they take that stage or they go into the front of that room,
Yeah.
is there something they could say, Steven said I could do this? Or a
My thing is,
mindset or an activity or just anything from your toolkit?
from a mindset perspective, I would say trust yourself. That is to me one of the number one things. Trust yourself. And I've seen this in vocal performance. I've seen it in corporate settings, people getting ready to go give keynotes or run a session or run a meeting that's super high stakes, and they're very anxious for that space. I've also seen it, those words used with a parent, and this one's a little bit emotional because the guy whose son has, I can't remember what happened to him, but his 5-year-old has prosthetic legs, and he's teaching him to stand on his prosthetic legs. And it's a massive effort. I mean, this little guy is, and he's letting go. When he releases the braces, the crutches, that's the moment when he should topple over. And his dad is saying, trust yourself. Just trust yourself. And it's this beautiful thing. I mean, I have a hard time talking about it because it's 30 seconds. It's a reel, but it impacted me so much. And I'm like, man, those are words that I've been trying to share with people for a long time. Like, just trust yourself and let yourself, you've done the work, especially when you've done the work. So there's that. From a mindset perspective, give yourself trust because as long as you have put in the time and effort and work to do the thing. Preparedness is the word I use all the time. Whether I am going into the thing I'm doing next week, which is incredibly important. It's my small hometown. I know everybody there. The person who has passed away is someone who near and dear to me and helped raise me. I'm now being asked to sing a song that I didn't write. Miley Cyrus, I believe, wrote it and deliver it in a way that it pays homage not just to the person who has passed away, who nurtured all of us, but also to the person who brought the lyric together for me to be able to do. So I had to be prepared for that and to get prepared. And it's the same thing when someone's going to run that high stakes meeting or they're getting ready to be in front of whomever, internal clients, team members, leaders, or external. You have to do the work to be prepared. And
Mm.
so I always say breathing, it sounds very cliche. Allowing yourself to breathe is
I was just
one of
going to
the
ask you, I want to be able to trust myself and I want to be prepared. What's one or two or three things that you do to support yourself there? And right there, you said it's breathing, the breath work. You probably
breathing.
spend a fair amount of time on breath work.
I do. And I didn't do that for a long time. And then when I finally got coaching on how to do that, I was singing the national anthem for a Royals game. This has been 100 years ago. There was no YouTube. There was none of the things, but a long, long time ago. And I was terrified, but yet I wanted to do it. I signed up and I didn't have a vocal coach, but I did have a friend who dabbled in that work and just taught me some breathing techniques. And this is before I ever knew about box breathing or any of that. But the box breathing was not used necessarily to warm up. It was used right before I went out to
Okay.
get into a more relaxed state. So my biggest fear was forgetting the lyrics to one of the most important songs on the planet,
And
And
everyone makes fun of people endlessly when they
yeah,
do that,
and then again, there
especially
was no
with epic
YouTube or any
songs.
social media then, so we didn't even know what that was. I didn't have that as a concern. It was more about just this is my city and I'm doing this and I have to get it right, that kind of thing.
It's a
So
hard song to
breathing,
sing, isn't it?
yeah, it is. Vocally, it goes everywhere and you don't really stray from it much because people get made fun of for that too if they add too much
Yeah.
flavor to it. And so yeah,
Although,
that
listen, even though we make fun of those people, those are the ones that we're remembering right now. Like it's running through
well,
my
right.
mind.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted it to
You
be
want to be
memorable,
remembered or
and
do you want to be really good at it?
that's the other thing is being prepared, breathing, and getting yourself away from your content, but right before you do it.
Hmm.
The day of, you should have it locked and loaded by then. Step
Right.
away from it. Go to the other stuff that brings you joy, that brings you calm, and I always say my mantra is routine. The day of, routine has to be usual, same as always. Anything you can do in advance, do it in advance. I get my clothes ready the night before. I try to get a good night's sleep. I make sure I eat something that's decent the day of. I don't want my stomach growling in a high stakes meeting or during a presentation. Be mindful of your shoes if you are on your feet and not like this behind a computer. It makes a huge difference. Did you test the floor that you're gonna be walking on? I've had someone that, they got new shoes and they were leather and that was carpeting the night before and it was great. The day of, it was a parquet wood floor and their shoes were slick as anything. And it changed their mindset, it changed their delivery, tone, everything changed. We have to think about that. So that's part of the preparedness piece. But yeah, for me, it's that. It's my mindset is trust yourself and make sure you're breathing the whole time and allow for silence. You own the silence and letting your audience have the opportunity to process what you're saying. And our brain works really fast, being able to process and reflect. And you're breathing while you're silent.
That's right.
And
I
then
love
you're
those
wait.
moments. You got to
Yeah.
have something to trust. I mean, when you say trust yourself, preparedness is what gives you the foundation for being able to trust yourself. And
Yes.
then you're right, giving people a moment to process and then for them to be prepared to receive. When you and I met, it was during one of my deliveries, and I actually had decided that I was rushing a little bit through some things where I realized I wasn't giving you that moment. And so I just popped in a slide that forced the question in case I would forget. Because
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to do it. But even that. So for me to be better prepared, I put in a moment that said, here, let's pause for you to reflect on that. And that was absolutely intentional so that you'd have an opportunity to process. And you know what? Same for me to chill and give you that moment.
Oh, yeah. We need
Yeah.
that. Our audience needs it. With content blur is a thing, delivery blur is also a thing for both them and for us. We need to build in those moments. And I don't need people to necessarily, but you think about a good piece of music. There are rests and throughout because it creates the moments. It gives us a chance to hear what was presented before we go to the next
Absorb and
sometimes.
process
Yes.
and be able to,
Yeah.
because when you feel something, you kind of want to hang there for a moment. You
Yeah.
don't want it to
Yeah.
go right away. And that's like in learning, when something lights, you don't want it to dim because they didn't get a chance to catch it. So you want to pause for a moment and let them take it in, or maybe they missed it. And if you pause, they'll have an opportunity to catch it.
Totally. And people will hold on to more afterwards. Stephanie Scotti also says in her book that our goal is to make our presentations remarkable, meaning they're remarking about what we gave them after they've left. And that's the same thing in vocal performance. For me, I want them to not like, oh my God, he's awesome, or that. It's like, wow, that meant something to me. I felt something as a result of that. It's about that. Our learning is the same. We put a lot of time and effort into instructional design, adult learning principles, all of these things. We have to allow the space for reflection, for processing, all of that. So it is remarkable when they leave and that it becomes more sticky. That's every
It
learning
becomes
and
part
development
of
professional's goal.
their own personal soundtrack.
Yes, yes, they pay it forward.
And they
That's,
check what parts they want and like, oh, listen in, this is my favorite part,
yeah,
or
yeah,
this is why I chose this for this moment, for sure. I
definitely.
feel like there's so many parallels and metaphors, and it's really just you were meant to be doing all the work that you do as a leader and a trainer, but of course as a singer, it's beautiful to listen to, and
Thank you.
it's beautiful to listen to you describe it, and I'm certain it'd be beautiful to listen to you sing. I wish we could be a part of that. It's very nice.
Well, we can figure that out if you want to.
Yeah. On that note, how can we connect with you and find you and be able to go listen to the beautiful notes that come out of you?
Yeah. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. It's Stephen Patterson. You'll find me there in Kansas City, Missouri. I work for NetSmart. I'm A-OK saying that as well. My leaders and everybody knows I'm doing this podcast, so there's no secrets there.
Thank you to them.
And yeah, for anyone, it's all good. So there's that LinkedIn, NetSmart, Stephen Patterson. You can also connect with me on Instagram and my personal Instagram. It is do.more.have.less. So it's do more, have less with periods in between.
Love it.
And that's been a mantra of my wife and me for a long time. Just do more and have less. It's kind of a decent way to live. So, yeah.
Sounds
The other thing is I do have a YouTube. It's under Stephen Patterson, but there are some vocal performances out there if you want to hear them. I have not posted like facilitation necessarily yet. So, yeah.
That's
There's
probably
that.
what we'd like to hear anyway. So that's perfect. Wonderful. Well, I can't thank you enough for your time today and for your insight and just the long list of metaphors to music that I'm going to take with me from here on out, Stephen. It's been a pleasure. That's your spark. Now go light something up. And hey, if this episode lit you up, share it with a friend, a fellow facilitator, or someone who needs a little more connection in their day. Be sure to follow the Spark Connect so you don't miss what's next. We've got more brilliant voices, bold ideas, and heart-forward conversations coming your way. Until then, stay curious, stay brave, and keep showing up.